The big thing, number-related activities should be done at least daily. Or if you can't do it daily, a few times a week. Sounds scary, right? It's not. How many little people come home hungry at the end of the school day? We're tired. I want a snack. And you take out those fruit snacks. It was just Halloween. For those kids who trick-or-treated, you take out that bag of M&Ms. Let's open it up. How many snacks did you get today in that? Oh, you got 8? How many purple were in there? How many pink? How many yellow? How many red M&Ms? You've just talked math. In a daily activity. It's a simple question. Driving down the road, what numbers did you see on that license plate when we were stuck in traffic? Can you find an 8 on the road? Doesn't seem so bad that way, right? How many people think they could do a math activity like that? Yeah. Now, I know it's getting colder. Not this week, though, while we enjoy this nice weather. If you've got a place for sidewalk chalk while they're out there drawing their picture, you know what? Let's count the number of flower petals you put on there. Let's label it with the numbers. My favorite one? Let's play a game. Board games are a passion of mine. I love board games. I'm a giant geek outside of the classroom. Probably inside the classroom too, if you ask my kids. Board games are a great way to do math. They teach math concepts. Everybody's favorite number cubes, random number generators, otherwise known as dice. They teach problem solving. That game of sorry, where you're going to get bumped back, you're counting ahead to go, uh-oh, is that person going to get me or not? Simple games. Teach these concepts. All right. To our nitty-gritty here. Pre-K parents, you want to know, what does my child need to know at the end of pre-K? Admittedly, I have never taught pre-K, but I went to my pre-K teacher and I said, Miss Hathaway, help me out. I think I've got the slide right. And she looked it over and she went, you did okay. You missed some things. I was looking at it from what do they need to know when they get to me. She was looking at it for what do they need to know when they leave me. Rote counting. That's that simple counting. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Really make sure when we get to those tricky T numbers, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 15 goes. I don't know what it is. Kids don't like 15. It just 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, 18, 20, 17, 5. And you're like, whoa, slow down. Number recognition to 20. Harrison, and I'm sure some of the other pre-K teachers, they're pushing, if they can, to get to 30. But that's if they can look at a number and know that it's that number. That's all number recognition is. 2D and 3D shapes. One of the best things. Kids love these shapes. Shapes are great. Do they know the names? Can they tell you? Oh, I know it's a square because it has 4 sides. 4 corners. Things like that. I know it's a cube because it's got more than the square. It's made up of those squares. We're getting into the holiday season. Gumdrops are out. Gumdrops and toothpicks build the shapes. Teaches them shapes and the parts of the shapes. Again, that problem solving. Because I can tell you, those toothpicks are not going to stick well in those gumdrops or their marshmallows, and they've got to figure out exactly how to problem solve through that. Teaches math perseverance and the idea that it's okay to be wrong. How many little people don't like that word wrong? I have many little people in my room that don't ever want to be wrong, to the point where they are, I'm right. Okay? Explain to me. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, you know what? I think it was 8, not 7. Awesome. You went back, you fixed it. We're good. One-to-one correspondence. That's, again, looking at those fruit snacks, being able to sort of touch each one and count and say, I had 8 fruit snacks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Identifying the last number counted as the total number of objects. This one's hard. I do this lesson with my kids, and I put up my dots or my something on the board, and I go, oh, look, I counted, I've got 8. And then I go, oh, look, somebody just came in the room. How are you doing today? And then I say, oh, I don't remember. How many did I count? Should I go back and count again? And inevitably there's one who's like, no, there were 8. Come on. But then there are the kids who go, I don't remember. I go, it's okay, we'll get there. So just challenging them to that. Can you tell me how many there are now that we've counted them without going back and counting? Comparing measurable attributes and sets. Sounds pretty fancy. It's looking at your fruit snacks and your buddy's fruit snacks and saying they have more. Or I know 3 is more than 2 because when I hold up 3 fingers and 2 fingers, if I match them up, I've got 1 extra finger. Measurable attributes, not just looking at it and going, I know it's more. That's what they love to do. I know. Well, I know you know. But pretend I don't know. Explain it to me. We are in an era where we have to talk the math, not just give the right answer. That's a change for some of us, especially me, some of us old timers. Because I used to just have to, as long as I got the right answer on the paper, other than that one teacher that made you show your work, we are in an era of show your work and explain it to me. Now, kindergarten, pre-K, that's a little easier. Showing 8, I drew 8 circles. A little easier than, show me the square root of 64. Things like that. Sorting and patterns. Patterns are important. And I admit, in the kindergarten curriculum, we sort of took patterns out and went, we'll leave that to pre-K. But if your wonderful scholars don't know their patterns, reading becomes much harder. Patterns connect to that listening for sounds, that finding the patterns in our word sounds, word families, the patterns in how we speech. It's a funny connection, but it's there. It also, that music, knowing notes and how the song is going, it all connects. So math connects in all these places. Does anybody have any questions about sort of what pre-K is looking at? All right. Kindergarten. When they come to me, by the time they leave me, we can rote count to 100. Mostly accurately, I will say. Sometimes when we get to those 10 number jumps, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, when we get to 69, 80. Oh, let's go back and try it again. It's like the T numbers all over again. That's okay. They're going to do that. Like that 15 is going to go away. They're going to make those mistakes. But that's when we say, let's take another look. Number recognition to 100. Are some of your wonderful learners going to flip-flop 18 and 81? Yeah. Okay. You got the right numbers, but let's take a deeper look at those. Which number comes first? What place is it in? Again, those 2D, 3D shape attributes, because I do tricky things like, how do you know that's not a square? Sort these by 2D and 3D shapes. That one's hard, especially in this partial virtual reality, because I can't give you shapes. I can give you pictures of shapes, but I can't hand you my 3D shapes and go, feel them. Parents, you can do that. Tissue boxes, playground balls. And this is the year of we taught it first thing with kindergarten. Here's a sphere. It's round like a playground ball, like a soccer ball, like a basketball. I came to testing. I said, what shape is this? It's a ball. Yep, but it's also a sphere. So by they coming to me, they have to know the difference between those 2D, those 3D, and tell me 2D shapes are flat, 3D shapes are solid. And then we get to adding. Adding's great. I love adding. We can do so many great things when we add. I expect them to be fluent up to 10. So that's the ability to tell me 2 and 8 is 10, 3 and 7 is 10, 5 and 1 is 6. They may need to count it. It's okay. They can use their fingers now. They're allowed to. Teachers have fought and said, this is ridiculous. Let them use their fingers. That's okay. Let them use their tools. Subtraction. Fluent up to 10 again. Know that 10 minus 1 is 9. And everything in between. Teen numbers. We get into place value in kindergarten. Knowing that a teen number is a full set of 10 and some extra ones put in. So we do what we call decomposing. We break it apart. I do hand motions with my kids. We compose, we take 2 little, make 1 big. We decompose, take a big, and break it into the littles. And we compare those numbers. You are more than welcome to. Use Roman numerals, show them Roman numerals, introduce them. I do not use Roman numerals, but that does not mean that I do not see the value in them. I am taking a wonderful math class that the presenter is very big on tally marks and using popsicle sticks, 4 down, 5th one across, to get the concept, the beginning concept of place value. If it works for your child or your children, I'm an advocate for it. If they can explain that thinking to me, now I can't speak for all the teachers that they will have. I'm one of those teachers, if you can explain it and I can see what you were doing and how you got there, I'm happy. I think Roman numerals are great, personally. They make a lot of sense. American teen numbers don't make a lot of sense. But it's where we are. And my big thing with these comparing numbers is that they be able to tell me how they know which one's bigger, how they know which one's smaller. A lot of us learned that wonderful alligator, greater gator. I will show them greater gator, but I explain to them that it's an arrow. The greater than and less than signs are an arrow. It always points, the small point is at the little number. The big opening is at the big number. Math is always changing. Always evolving. So, basic strategies. That's what you're really here for. You're not here to let me lecture about what we need to do. Flashcards. Flashcards are fine. They're great. They have their place. Don't cling to them only, because kids are smart. They recognize that flashcard that's got a little bend in it, that one has an answer of 8. I don't need to think about that, worry about the problem is, I know it's 8. As I said, counting with fingers. That's just fine. Number lines. Number lines are really cool. When they get into the upper grades, they give them blank number lines. They have to create their number lines. They have to do place value on number lines. I learned that this year. I was like, what do you mean put place value on a number line? You mean like hop it? They're like, no, you've got your 10 spot and your 1 spot. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll figure that out. When we think of a number line, we think sort of that line. Maybe on their name tag, on the ground. But number lines can go up and down like a thermometer or like their growth chart if you mark off their height. Number lines don't have to start at 0. That's a mind-blowing one for them. Because we start at 0 or we start at 1 or we don't start at all. But in the math now, they have to count on from any given number for me. So I say, count on from 5 to 20. And they're like, 1, 2, and I'm like, no, we got to start with 5. Using objects. In school, I have all sorts of fancy little things. I've got my snap cubes. I've got my red and yellow counters. I've got bears. At home, you've got cereal. You've got pasta pieces. You have 42 Shopkins in a bin. 62 Hot Wheels cars. Barbie shoes. Whatever it is they're into, if you've got more than a couple of them, they can become a math tool. Okay? We're going to use this as a tool today. After we use it as a tool, you can use it as a toy again. But for right now, we're going to do some math. We're going to do some addition, some subtraction. That practice counting on. Give them a number. See how far they can count. Drawing pictures. Pictures are a great way for our kindergarten friends who cannot write their explanation to show you their thinking. And that is a mind-blowing experience sometimes. Because we did a math talk where there were 5 dots, and I said, what's another way we can make 5? I got kids doing subtraction. I got kids adding. I got kids showing me different patterns to make 5. Some kids put numbers. Some kids did circles. See what your kid does. So show me a way. Some kids were holding up different hands. And then they started to talk to each other like, oh, I like the way you did that. I apologize. You're going to hear your child's teacher in them when they talk at home sometimes. I know that happens with my kiddos. A hundreds chart. There are a zillion for free on the internet. If you need one, I can get one to you. There are ones that are filled out from 1 to 100. There are ones that start at 0 and go to 99. There are blank ones. There are ones with holes. And then, again, those manipulatives. Manipulatives is any math tool you are using to solve that problem. I said, I love my number cubes. You've got that board game, that Monopoly game where you've lost all the properties, that whatever game where that Candyland game where you've lost all the pieces. That's got a colored number cube. Take some file cards, write some math problems, color code them. Oh, you pulled 1 plus 2. If you can tell me the answer, you get to move to that double purple space. Number cubes. I cannot talk about how wonderful these are enough. Now, we have rules in my classroom. First one's free. You drop it on the ground once, because you were doing something silly, you get it back. Second time it hits the floor, it has to have a little time out. Its feelings are hurt. Because we like to make them rain number cubes. Give them that baggie of cereal. Okay, I want you to put out 10 Cheerios for me. Roll the number cube. You get to eat 1. How many Cheerios do you have left after you ate that 1? Or the ever popular food battle. I don't think we've had a behavior session, but the food battle, I don't want to eat that. It's not a chicken nugget. It's not mac and cheese. Let's make a deal. We're going to make a math deal. I want you to eat as many bites as you roll on 1 number cube, on 2 dice. Whatever it is you set for your kids, it's worth a shot. It helps save the battle. No, Mommy, Daddy didn't decide how many bites you need. You rolled how many bites you need to eat. Tonight, you got a 6. Tomorrow night, you might only get a 5 or a 3. Anything that they can use to solve the math is a manipulative. As I said, those cars, those Barbie shoes. The 100th day will come up most likely February. Your child's teacher may ask for a 100th day collection. Some of you may be extra, and you're going to build that fish bowl on the poster with all the little 100 little goldfish, and you're going to realize goldfish don't like to glue to anything as you do that. Or make the gumball with the pom-poms. All I want is 100 things. It can be from the junk drawer. 10 rubber bands, 6 Hot Wheels cars, 22 little pieces of paper you cut apart. As long as it adds up to 100, and I'll admit, for the most part, as long as it ballparks at 100 with my estimation, I'm not going to count. Because this year I will have 43 different projects, if my numbers stay what they are, for the 2 kindergarten classes that I teach. I'm not counting that many. But let's make a collection. You guys, what number are you working on in school? Hopefully they'll be able to tell you right now, according to the county standards, we are working with ways to make different numbers. Ways to make 6, ways to make 10, ways to make 8. Your child's teacher may be somewhere around there, should be somewhere around there according to our curriculum. Some people may be still working on comparing numbers, some may be a little farther. Depends on their kiddos. Cool. Show me a way you made it. Draw me a picture with a way to make 8. You like drawing trees or flowers or I don't know. Whatever it is, they like ghosts, pumpkins. My kids were stuck on pumpkins for a while. Draw me 8. Let's color them in. Okay, you drew it one way. How could we do it another way? Yeah, manipulatives make math easier. Food? Who doesn't like food? I love food math. Absolutely love it. I can't do it anymore because we're not allowed to eat in the classroom. And it breaks my heart because when I used to bring in Skittles or M&Ms, all of a sudden math was the best class they'd ever been to. Pretzels, toys, people. I pull kids up voluntarily. I ask them if they want to participate, pull them up to the front. Buttons. Kids love buttons. Sometimes the Dollar Tree will have a little jar of buttons for $1. Best deal ever. First of all, you get something when that uniform shirt loses a button, or those pants lose a button, where you might be able to replace it without a trip to the craft store where buttons are $800 a piece. Second of all, they can be used as manipulatives to fill in and count with. You can compare buttons. Kids like to sort things by color, by size, by shape. When we do sorting as an activity, I sort my buttons by the number of holes in the buttons and then say, how did I sort them? And the kids are like, well, you didn't sort it by color, and you didn't sort it by this, and I just let them keep guessing. And sometimes somebody will go, wait, there's holes in the buttons. And I'm like, oh, there you are. But I don't tell them. I give them time to have that productive struggle where they feel a little uncomfortable because they don't know the answer like that. That's math. You're not always going to know the answer right off the top of your head. Sometimes you have to delve a little deeper. You have to problem solve. We will, in kindergarten, get to word problems. Pre-K will do more story problems. Anything can be used to visually represent math. We're getting to winter. Nobody wants to think about that and the potential for snow. They can write numbers in the snow. They can write problems in the snow. They can roll snowballs. How many snowballs can you roll in 30 seconds? Let's count them. Let's do it again. Could you get more? Comparing, creating, counting, one-on-one matching. In that whole 5 minutes outside in the snow before everybody's tired with the snow. Math is easy. Reading, you got to work a little harder to teach the reading, to learn the letters and the sounds and the combinations. Math, they do it. They love it. We're the ones who have the hiccups with math. Kids, it's fun. May not always be fun. I can tell you sometimes math classes are, ugh. They love the centers where they get to do the math. It's more than me front loading the math where they're a little less excited. Cook with your kids. It doesn't have to be baking a cake or anything fancy. We're going to make a snack or we're going to make something for Thanksgiving. I want you to help me because we have 8 people coming to the house. How many apples do we need for that? How many potatoes do we need for the mashed potatoes if every person needs 1 potato? Also, at the store, it kind of sometimes gives them something to focus on. Hey, you want apples for your lunch? How many apples do we need so you can have an apple every day for the week? Okay, you figured it out. You think we need 5 apples. Let's put 5 apples in the bag. Make sure we get 5. Now, some of these suggestions with where we are with COVID, the grocery store may not be the best place. But they're going to want to come home. They're going to want those snacks. They're going to want that weekend breakfast. I want chocolate chips on my pancakes. Let's roll to see how many chocolate chips we can put on the pancakes. Things like that. Throw it in with what you are already doing at home. It doesn't have to be anything extra. I'm not giving you a website to go on. I can if you need websites. There are great websites out there. There are great games on the phone. But my kids see enough screen time. They saw enough last year, and we have iReady this year. My goal is to give you time with your kids where it's valuable for you and your children, and it's not adding. Because if I tell you all these extra things to do, you're going to leave here, and they're going to stay on the sheet. They're going to stay in your head. They're going to stay in the email or in the whatever. These practical things, they're things you're going to do, hopefully. And I have some of the tools that we use. I will give you, and I apologize, they're not laminated. I'm sorry, normally they are, but this year, I don't know if I can use the laminator at the school this year. This is a double tens frame. It can go either way. Normally, they're going to see it this way. It has 10 spots. Let's put 10 things in it. What happens when we take some away? Or what if we have 23 things? Where do those extra 3 go? What do we do with them? Should we get rid of them? They can hang here. They can hang outside, be leftovers. So if you would like a tool, these are great tools. We do so much with these. In fact, the upper grades are starting to use them sometimes when their kiddos are struggling, because they've caught on that this is a great way to organize thoughts. So you are welcome to have a double tens frame. You are welcome to have a wonderful number cube. In fact, we have so few, you guys can take a couple. I can tell you my kiddos are going to be mad because they use these. They don't know they came here today and that they're going to be diminished. But I want you to have some easy tools to use with your kids. I admit these were 100 number cubes, I think, for $10 on Amazon. For those nerds out there, dice just don't come in 1 to 6. They're D4s, 4-sided dice. D6s, D8s, D10s, D12s, and D20s. You can get a set of polyhedral dice from Amazon for under $10. I use them in the classroom. As I said, I'm a giant nerd. I have multiple sets of polyhedral dice at my house because I use them on the weekend. I go up to the local game store and I play games with friends. But I use them in the classroom because these get old. We can count from 1 to 6. But what happens when I throw that D12 at you? First of all, it looks different. Looks really weird. I want to play with that because it looks weird. Now I'm working with a different set of numbers. I'm working with a dozen. Life skill. Dozen bagels, dozen eggs. That's a set. We're used to sets of 10. I like to throw different sets at them because socks come in a set of 2. Bagels sometimes come in a set of 13, so do donuts. It's a weird set. Addition. Pictures. 2 frogs, 2 frogs. Doesn't have to be fancy. And let me tell you, when we get to word problems and that word problem is talking about a lion, they do not have to draw 13 lines. I tell my kiddos, draw me 13 circles. That's all I need. I don't need a lion. Because when we get to drawing whatever it is that's in that problem, we want to make it the very best car, the very best cake, the very best lion we have ever made. And then we don't solve the problem. Can they solve it? Also, big cautionary thing with addition. They're used to addition this way, with that equals sign at the end of the problem. Math, nowadays, they put it up and down, or I say things like 6 equals 2 plus what? And they're like, that's not how it works. And I say, the equal sign's just a balance, guys. As long as both sides end up as the same thing, it's okay. The answer can come first. I also use that when we get greater than and less than, that balance tips. Shapes. Our shapes were sorted by shape. But then I'll say to them, how else could we sort it? And they're like, oh, I could sort it by color, by size. Eventually, and sometimes I'll have kids when we've got like rectangles mixed in, they're like, I'm going to sort by the number of sides. And then the other kids in the class are like, whoa, I didn't think about that. As long as they can tell me what they sorted by and it makes sense, if they tell me they sorted by shape and I've got circles everywhere in those mixes, I'm like, take another look. Greater than, less than. As I said, that gator, that greater gator, you're going to see him everywhere with greater than and less than. But I explain it as that little point, little amount. Big opening, big amount. How does the counting assess? One of the things is, for both pre-K and K, I have your child count. They count to me, I listen, I make marks. Did they get all the numbers? What did they leave out? We have these wonderful milestone assessments. They are a lot of observational data on my end. I sit down, I tell your children, here are some shapes, sort them. Now tell me how you sort it. Or here's a set of objects. How many are there? And then I look and I say, did they point to each one as they counted? Or did they know how many were there? Knowing how many are there for sets 5 and under is something called subitizing. It's what we do with these guys. You don't have to count the pips, the little dots on the dice. You roll it, you know. That's a 5. It's got the 4 around and the 1 in the middle. 6 is the 3 and 3. Can your children look at a set of objects and know how many it is? Past 6, our brains have a much harder time of doing it. We have to categorize 5 and then some more. County provided tasks. We have entry tasks for math. We have apprentice tasks, and we have milestone tasks. Again, could be a game for that unit. Could be a problem. Could be a little more actual test-like. Most of it, at least the way I do it, I apologize, is I look at them, I pull them back in small group, and I do it and watch them do it. Thankfully, with some exceptions, like we will most likely have a benchmark test coming up. at some point in the year. I double checked on the curriculum. I don't know when, so that'll be a big surprise for me. That is more that traditional paper pencil or traditional computer-based test. If your child's school uses iReady and they do the iReady diagnostic assessment or the iReady diagnostic check, that's more paper pencil, but iReady self-corrects. So as your child gets answers right, it gets a little harder. As they get answers wrong, it supports them. Not necessarily with the assessment, although sometimes it will, but throughout the program. So that's kind of our big assessment pieces. Pre-K has their SKBs. That's sort of their standard base. They have certain tasks they do while your children are at centers or while your children are doing different activities throughout the day. Your pre-K teacher will have a clipboard. They'll be making notes. Anecdotal notes are big for our littles. What are we seeing them do? Oh, I'm seeing them group 10 things together to count a bigger group. I can check that off. I look for strategies. Are they using what they've learned? Or are they using other tools that you've taught them? Which is great, as I said. So, between now and our next session, which sadly won't be on math, create a baggie with 20 pieces of their favorite cereal, 20 toys in a shoebox, 20 pieces of construction paper, double tens frame. Show me 12 things tonight before bath time. Oh, you want to stay up an extra 5 minutes because you weren't done? Show me a way to make 8. Show me a group that's smaller than another group with those 20 things. Kids like negotiation. They like choice. My job is to introduce the strategies in school, and they pick which ones work for them. Or I will guide them if they are having a hard time. I'm not leaving them out on their own to figure it out. But anytime I pull up manipulatives that are different colors, somebody inevitably goes, I want the pink one, I want the blue one, I want this one. Create some at home. Let them have that choice. I know it says family fun night. I apologize. I did not change that. Next one is in December. I'm trying to remember the topic off the top of my head. I can't. But that blue paper will be coming out. You will see me again as long as nothing happens between now and December. So now it's your turn. What do you need from me? If you think of something that you need between now and whenever we meet again, Karen.Arnold, Karen, period, ARNOLD @pgcps.org. You can shoot me an email and say, I'm stuck. My kid's working on this, or they keep talking about this. I don't know what they mean. You can send it to me in Spanish. I apologize. It will be my very best Google Translate coming back. If you would like a double tens frame or some number cubes, I will put them up front. You may take some, enjoy, go crazy. Number cubes are different colors. Take your kids' favorite colors. Got more than one kid, take some of the cube, take a couple. You could roll up additional problems. But we're here for a little while. Your kids are still going strong in the fun room. What do you need? do. Miss Anna will attest to that. I'm used to being in my classroom where I have tools and things to give you. Tonight I was a little rushed. Things got a little crazy at the end of the day. But just throw it in. Ask that question while you're driving if you're going somewhere. Ask them what numbers they see. What do you see? What shape is that? What color is it? What else can you tell me about it? That brings in the attributes. Even in books, let's count how many words are in the sentence. Once we get to the writing with our kindergarten friends, you wrote a great 4-word sentence. Can we make a 5-word sentence next? Add a little more detail. That'll make the reading teachers happy. They love details in sentences. Names are another super important thing for our kiddos. They love their names and problems. I will take out the pre-generated names sometimes because they don't know anybody with that name. They want their names in there. Now, admittedly, we always have a, they said your name, they said your name moment. It's okay. We can have those moments. And with any new tools that you introduce, like that baggie of cereal, they're going to eat it. They're going to play with it. That's okay. That's what cereal's for, right? We can replace that. In school, I give them time. Snap cubes, we want to build robots. We want to build rocket ships. We want to build flowers. We want to build butterflies. You got 5 minutes. At the end of that 5-minute timer, it becomes a tool again. It stops being a toy. Tools versus toys. Those poppets that are so popular, they have ones that are 100. 10 rows of 10. That's a hundreds chart right there. You can pop bubble number 81. Even the small ones. Let's do an addition problem. We're going to do 5 plus 3. Hit 5, pop 3 more. Because those poppets aren't going anywhere. They're this year's fidget spinner, this year's all those wonderful things that come full circle. I promised my kids poppet math when we fill up our marble jar. So on Amazon, I went and I bought 1 poppet to make sure everybody at least had a poppet to use during math time. We're almost there. We've almost earned it. Even that, make a game out of it. You got your number cube? We're going to take turns popping those bubbles. I rolled 6. I get to pop 6 bubbles. You rolled 4. You get to pop 4. Who's going to pop the last bubble? How many more do we need to roll so that you can pop the last bubble? Takes that toy. They don't know it's math. They think it's a fun game with that poppet. Make it meaningful. As I said, board games. Games are a great way in a busy family life. If you can take that 20 minutes, that half an hour at home on a Saturday night or Wednesday, after school, whatever works for you. Doesn't have to be a fancy board game. Chutes and ladders. The dollar store has a version of chutes and ladders. Doesn't have to cost a bunch. Board game companies will sell you $50 games. Nothing wrong with them. They're fun, they're colorful, they're great. But it doesn't have to be a lot. You can even draw just an S, bubble S, mark off some spaces, and make a board game at home with a sheet of paper and a number cube and a couple pieces of cereal. Have your kids help. We're going to design a game tonight. We're going to make a Candyland game or a Chutes and Ladders game or a Sorry game, whatever it is. As I said, Amazon's got a ton of stuff if you want to drop the money. If not, use what you've got. I am a proponent of use what you can find. We did number bracelets this week. It was a pipe cleaner, 10 pony beads. That's a manipulative to show ways to make 10. They could move them. I move 1 beat over. 1 and 9 is 10. 2 and 8 is 10. Simple. They thought that was our first really hands-on making anything. And they're like, can I take it home yet? Can I take it home yet? Can I take it home yet? I said, yeah, take them home. We'll make more if we need them. They were so excited to bring those home. Cost me a couple of bucks in materials. Totally worth the math excitement. They said it doesn't have to. We got this holiday coming up that everybody is going to start talking about. Kids have already, it's almost Christmas time. Okay? Well, I know you want all these things. Let's look at how much they cost. And if you got everything you wanted, how much would that cost? Now, I'm not saying look at it like $59.99, but say, okay, let's pretend it costs, we're just going to shave off the zeros. We're going to make it a one-digit number. Those wish lists. Let's look at the cost for that. Is that reasonable? How much do you think would be reasonable for a present for your cousin, or your dad, or your mom? We're going to go out. You have a budget. We're going to Five Below. You've got a budget of $10 to buy a present for so-and-so. You want to get them those headphones? Those cost $6. How much more do you have to spend? Life skills, budgets. Important life skill. Make the math real. As real as you can make it. Don't depress your kids. I don't want you to have them balancing your checkbook or anything like that. But give them some of those life skills. It brings them into the decision, which is what kids like to be. They like to feel like they're informed. They like to feel like they're part of it. It gives them a controlled environment to try things out, especially as they're getting older. Not necessarily in our pre-KK, but as they start getting in that 5th, 6th grade, middle school range. Because that college day is going to be coming up soon. Gives them control. You've got a budget for your clothes. We're going to talk budget for how much we can spend for fun clothes. You really want those shoes? That uses most of your budget. That's fine, but know that if you get those fancy sneakers, you can only buy a couple of outfits, and you're going to have to wear those outfits every day. Life skills, math. Make it fun, make it exciting. Our kids like nothing more than to spend time with you. I know life is busy and life is very tech-filled. It's hard to put that away. My phone, I'm getting messages, I'm getting emails, I'm getting this, I'm getting that. I've got, games, I've got that. Time to put it away. We're going to do something as a family. Let's see who can hold the phone away the longest. Because I know some of our kiddos have phones. I hear that. Now I know my middle schooler now has a phone because we're in middle school and we're going to start doing activities. I want to throw that thing out the window. I'm over that phone. But it's time to put the phones away. We're going to do a family activity. We're going to plan a meal. We're going to cook a meal or a dessert. There are tons of easy peasy things that they can do with a little plastic knife or a spoon. We're going to do a science experiment. We're going to make oobleck, water and cornstarch. 1 cup of water, 1 cup of cornstarch. What happens? What if we add another cup in? Math, science, put it together. Reading a recipe. Sequential progression. If we don't put a recipe in the right order, are we going to end up with the right final result? With baking, you won't. Cooking, most likely, but find an activity. One math activity to do with your kids. Try it out. I challenge you to do that this week. If it takes you to Sunday, it takes you to Sunday. Kids love sorting. You've got that bag of socks, mismatched socks. I wonder, I don't know, could you sort that? I don't think you could sort those socks. That phrase, I don't think you can. It's a challenge. Oh, you don't think I can? I can. Gets that bag of socks sorted, gives them something to do. Now, you guys are the experts. Does anybody else have an activity that they've done or want to share?
I have two pre-K daughters and we play Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
That has been good for them. They read the cards that we can give them the reading skills and then also reading the numbers.
Sorry's great. I hear Uno's made a comeback too.
Yes.
I went to a thing where I was talking to a bunch of high school teachers, and they were like, the kids love Uno. I said, that's still a thing? They were like, yeah, I didn't think it would be either, but the kids love it. Just a set of playing cards. Back in the day, we used to play war. Whoever had the bigger amount on the card got to keep the card. Kids love to win. If they can beat you in a game, it's a good day. They love to beat me. Sometimes I'll stack the deck and they get to beat me. Sometimes we'll let fate decide. But and have them, they'll play with each other. Once they get some of the games down, I've had kids ask to bring games and things home from school. Can you give me a copy if they really like it? We do shake and spill with 2 colored counters. One side's red, one side's yellow. Put however many you want in a cup, shake it, spill it. How did you make that number? You had 10 counters in there. You had 5 yellow, 5 red. I took and I printed out leaves. One side was red, one side was yellow. Taped them together. All of a sudden, it was a whole new game. Doesn't have to be costly. So that is my homework for you. Chisel out a little bit of time to do something math with your kids. Thank you for listening. I've honestly missed doing side by side. And it looks like our wonderful scholars are here to try out some of these things with you. People virtually, thank you for joining us.